Empires are ranked by their level of power, influence, and brutality. They have shaped our world like nothing else. Today we're going to go through 5 of the most dangerous empires in history. Welcome to my channel. Number 5. The Mongol Empire. Genghis Khan founded the Mongol Empire in 1206. Under his leadership, the Mongols grew from a small tribe to a massive empire stretching from the Pacific Ocean to Eastern Europe. He was succeeded by Ögedei, Möngke, and Guyuk, who continued to expand the empire. But it was under Kublai Khan that the Yuan dynasty reached its greatest extent. The Mongols were responsible for some of the most horrific acts of violence in history. During the 13th century, they slaughtered millions of people across Asia and Europe. They were known for their brutality and ruthlessness, and their tactics were both innovative and terrifying. The Mongols used psychological warfare to break the wills of their enemies before even engaging in battle. They would lay siege to cities, then when the inhabitants came out to surrender, they would slaughter them all. Their military strength is best demonstrated by the fact that they were able to conquer 2 of the largest empires of their time, the Khwarezmid Empire and the Kingdom of Jin. The Mongol army consisted of highly skilled horsemen, who were trained from a young age to ride and fight on horseback. They were also adept at using composite bows, which were more powerful than any other bows of the time. In addition to their military prowess, the Mongols were also skilled diplomats and administrators. They were able to forge alliances with other groups and maintain control over their vast empire through a combination of military force and efficient governance. Despite their many accomplishments, the Mongols were eventually overthrown by the Ming dynasty in 1368. However, their legacy lives on in the form of place names, cultural influences, and historical records. Many of the cities and towns that were founded by the Mongols still exist today, and their influence can be seen in the art, architecture, and customs of many different cultures. 4. The Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire was founded by Osman I in 1299. It was the longest-lasting empire in history, spanning 3 continents and lasting for over 600 years. The Ottomans were known for their military strength and their ability to adapt to new technologies and tactics. They were also known for their religious tolerance and their contributions to art, architecture, and science. The Ottoman army was made up of elite soldiers who were well-trained and equipped. They were known for their use of gunpowder weapons such as cannons and muskets, as well as their advanced naval technology. The Ottomans were also skilled horsemen and sword fighters. One of the most famous Ottoman sultans was Suleiman the Magnificent, who reigned from 1520 to 1566. During his reign, the Ottoman Empire reached its greatest extent and became one of the most powerful empires in the world. However, the Ottoman Empire began to decline in the 17th century due to economic problems and military defeats. The empire was eventually conquered by British and French forces in the early 20th century. The Ottoman legacy, however, continues to live on in the form of Turkish culture, language, and history. 3. The Russian Empire. The Russian Empire was one of the largest empires in history, spanning from Eastern Europe to the Pacific Ocean. It was founded by Ivan the Terrible in 1547 and lasted for over 300 years. The Russians were known for their vast territory, their strong army, and their contributions to literature, art, and music. The Russian army was made up of conscripts who were required to serve for 25 years. They were trained in the use of firearms and artillery and were known for their discipline and endurance. The Russians were also skilled horsemen and used their cavalry to great effect in battle. One of the most famous Russian czars was Peter the Great, who reigned from 1682 to 1725. During his reign, Russia became a major power in Europe, and he modernized the Russian military and built a new capital city, St. Petersburg. However, the Russian Empire eventually collapsed in 1917 after the Bolshevik Revolution. The legacy of the Russian Empire can still be seen in the form of Russian culture, language, and history. 2. The British Empire. The British Empire was the largest empire in history, spanning from North America to Australia and New Zealand. It was the first global empire and lasted for over 400 years. The British were known for their naval supremacy, their vast colonial holdings, and their contributions to science, technology, and industry. The British Royal Navy was the most powerful navy in the world and allowed the empire to project power around the globe. The British were also skilled traders and merchants, and their colonial holdings provided them with vast amounts of wealth. One of the most famous British monarchs was Queen Elizabeth I, who reigned from 1558 to 1603. During her reign, England became a major player in world affairs, and she established the Church of England. However, the British Empire began to decline in the 20th century as a result of economic and political changes. The empire was eventually dissolved in the mid-20th century, and today there is a lot of resentment towards the British due to their past actions in places like India, where they exploited the people and drained the country of resources. 1. The Spanish Empire. The Spanish Empire was one of the largest empires in history, spanning from the Americas to the Philippines. It was the first modern empire and lasted for over 200 years. The Spanish were known for their exploration and conquest of the Americas, their wealth, and their contributions to art and architecture. The Spanish explorers were some of the most daring and adventurous men of the age. They were willing to risk everything to find gold and glory for Spain. The Spanish were also very religious, and they saw their conquest of the Americas as a mission from God. The Spanish Empire reached its peak in the 16th century under the reign of Charles V. During this time, Spain was the most powerful country in Europe and controlled vast amounts of gold and silver from the Americas. However, the Spanish Empire began to decline in the 17th century due to economic problems and competition from other European powers. The empire was eventually dissolved in the early 20th century. The Spanish legacy, however, continues to live on in the form of Spanish language, culture, and history. Conclusion. These empires were some of the most powerful and influential in history. They shaped the world in which we live today, and their legacy continues to be felt in many parts of the globe. While these empires accomplished many great things, they were also responsible for some of the worst atrocities in human history. From the Mongol invasions to the Spanish conquest of the Americas, these empires left a lasting impact on the world. It is important to remember both the positive and negative aspects of their history so that we can learn from the mistakes of the past and strive to create a better future. So what do you think? Which empire is the most dangerous? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.